Hello, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk about, as a professor, how do you actually improve a course? So if you don't know me, I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out to go through graduate school and to become a professor that I wanted to create something that was paying the favor forward. So I created the whole reciprocity website is where you can get peer feedback on your written work. And now I'm doing these YouTube videos to get the word out. All right. So how do you actually improve your course? So the biggest thing is this is geared towards graduate students and assistant professors. Even full professors might want to watch this as well. This is just kind of stuff that I learned. And it is stuff that I sort of do research on. So I study continuous improvement, or how firms learn within organizations, or how organizations improve over time with experience. And normally how they do it is they create some sort of variance, and then they see what happens in the long run to a performance metric and remove the variance, or the thing that's causing negative variance within the organization that makes their performance worse off in the long run. And this is a really effective technique in terms of continuous improvement in any particular area and in anything that happens, right? So what you want to do is have a couple of characteristics with what you're looking for. The course has to happen over several semesters, and hopefully, after several years. It has to happen over a long period of time. I can't help you if this is, you just tanked and you're looking for ways to improve very, very quickly, or if this is your first semester. This doesn't work all that well for that. So frankly, the reason why I started applying this to my own courses was because I was tanking at the beginning and I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. And I feel that I'm getting a little bit better with teaching over time simply by using this continuous improvement or sort of learning methodology. And what you're trying to do is over the course of several years, what you do is you track the performance of whatever you're looking at. You need sort of real performance metrics, whatever that might be. So if you're an assistant professor or graduate student, you're probably looking at teaching ratings. I hate teaching ratings for a lot of different reasons. They're not necessarily all that valid because they're anonymous. However, given that that's what you are being, you're being measured on, and that's what your ability is being compared against, is on teaching ratings, it's probably the best thing that you probably should be doing at that moment. However, if you're past the whole tenure hurdle and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going through tenure myself right now, so I'm kind of freaking out. But anyways, if you're going through the whole, if you're past the tenure hurdle, I would probably recommend a probably more valid sort of knowledge acquisition kind of methodology, right? And you could even do this if you're assistant professor and graduate student as well. And what you want to do is measure after a year. Maybe you do some polling or something like that, some sort of methodology to measure after a year how much knowledge is being retained of the students that you're teaching. And so it might be sending out a survey of the students that you're doing, or a random survey of them, and just getting just getting an understanding of how much knowledge they're retaining, and then you can sort of optimize on that. And so you probably want something maybe 6 months or a year down the road where they have forgotten some of the stuff. Because really what it is, if you're doing an effective job teaching, I don't care if you're mean, if you're a jerk, but if they retain that material and it stays with them, then you're an effective teacher, right? So if you're doing sort of methodologies that are not necessarily considered kosher by students, that would actually be really valid if it stuck with them, right? So I'm not saying go out and be really mean to students and all that kind of stuff, but I'm saying figure out the methodology that works, that is effective, right? Rather than ones that are more kind of on the entertaining side, right? So what you want to do is have a performance metric and optimize on that performance metric. That's really what you're doing. And you're looking at experience over time. And so you want to vary certain things only a certain number of things. So you want to standardize a fair number of your stuff. So maybe you sort of choose a number of what makes sense to you to standardize every year, right? So for me, I try to like vary things between about 10 to 20%, whatever that might be, from semester to semester. And it doesn't matter what you are. It might be that you change the course material and you change a couple of weeks, or maybe it is that you're changing the methodology that you're assessing and you just change that kind of stuff. You want to be pretty controlled over time, and you sort of change the things that you think are not necessarily working all that well. So I've changed things like, maybe it's having pop quizzes, for example. That's how my teaching ratings were probably a little bit lower because I had pop quizzes. You can change things like, maybe it's having written assignments or things along those lines that you want to vary over time. And then you see what the performance metric is in the semester after and the semester, following that. So there is a caveat here that I've noticed with teaching ratings, and this is true even within organizations. There's a tremendous amount of variation that happens. So at best, we can do is make a sample of something over, a couple of semesters with something that you changed and see how that affects your performance rating. Because there's all this random variance that happens. Classes are different, people are different, students are different. And so there's going to be a lot of variance that you see over time. And sometimes it's going to look like you tanked and you did everything right. And, I've seen that as well. And, you could look for those moments that are not necessarily all that comfortable in the classroom, and then sort of change that methodology, change the thing that makes you uncomfortable or the class uncomfortable, and sort of change that and see if that improves what's going on. So, a real world example with this is just with these YouTube videos that I've been putting out, and it does work. So funny thing is, I noticed over time is every once in a while, so in terms of random variance, I noticed over time that the videos I actually wore a suit on because I was teaching and stuff like that, or a sport coat. This is a sport coat. That all of a sudden, that people would watch the videos a little bit longer than the ones that I wasn't wearing that, and I was just kind of wearing casual wear and stuff like that. So I started wearing a sport coat because I think, people view if you wear a sport coat that all of a sudden you have some authority, and, that things are magical and stuff that you say should be listened to. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, it did work out because I was optimizing on that performance metric. Another thing that I've learned in the classroom, the same with these YouTube videos, I used to say like, hey, I'm Dave. And I learned very quickly if I just called myself Dave, you don't nearly get the respect. So if I say Dr. Dave Maslach at the beginning, or, Dr. David Maslach at the beginning, then all of a sudden you get all this, people will start to listen to you and stuff like that. And these kind of little minor things, I know that they seem really minor, but they're actually really big in terms of how the impressions or what's happening with the students and how they're sort of absorbing the material. The same with you watching these YouTube videos. Because I said Dr. So-and-so, all of a sudden it framed, this person might know what he's talking about. I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, right? But you don't know that. You're getting this impression based on sort of what's going on around you and the social your social experiences that you've had in the past in terms of listening to people that have, a doctorate and whatnot. So, but anyways, that's one thing that you should be paying attention to when you're looking at this. It could be something really minor in terms of what's happening with you. And some things are really difficult to change. So, and this is why I don't like to listen so much to what's going on with the comments that students, so some of them are really valid, and you have to vet them and go through them. But then some of them are really ridiculous that you can't personally change. So my voice, right? Like I could do voice lessons, but there's nothing I could really do about that in terms of making me, a better speaker. I could do like variation and stuff like that, which I try to do. But at the same time, my voice is my voice. So you can't change that kind of stuff, right? So you just have to think about that in the long run and what you are going to pay attention to in terms of the feedback. So I don't think that feedback is often really effective. But what you should be looking at is this sort of thing that you're intentionally sort of changing and seeing what the performance outcome with that, because everybody's unique and everybody's different, and you do get different experiences. So if somebody tells you to go and teach this one specific way, it's not going to work out for you, right? Because you're not maybe you're not a dynamic speaker, for example, and you just don't get that. Or maybe you are nervous in front of people and it's just not going to work out in that same sort of way. So if somebody says you always have to do sort of this, what is it, Socratic method or whatnot, where you ask questions, it doesn't work out with some students. It really doesn't. And sometimes lectures work better depending on the type of students that you're with. And you have to think about that kind of stuff, right? And it really depends on the course. It depends on you. It depends on the class. There's lots of different things. It depends on the institution that you're at. So you want to look at that and experiment, do some variation to see what actually is going to work out for you, and track that performance over time. And you need to track this over time. That's the important thing. That's why I pointed out it's not going to work out in sort of a short run. It's not a short run thing at all, but it does happen. What you'll see is your whatever it is, your performance metric that you're looking at, teaching ratings, your knowledge retention, your I don't know, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. But what you'll see is over time, I'm going to go that way because it looks like that way on your screen. So over time, it's going to sort of tick up in terms of your performance rating. It's going to take a couple of years, but eventually it starts getting better in the long run. So hopefully this makes sense, right? So what you're trying to do is try to change yourself and change your perspective as if a company would, and improve over time, do continuous improvement over time. It works. It's slow, but it's very effective. And that's all I'm going to say. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really does help me in terms of my own performance and improvement, because then I can see, oh, lots of people are really watching this kind of stuff, so I'm going to do more of this kind of stuff, right? Or people really like these kind of videos, I'm going to improve on that kind of stuff, right? So it does help. Truly, it does help. So anyways, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.